Steven, I went to the dentist today.
I heard.
I think the dentist is important for everybody to go to. I'll be going for 3-month cleanings, not 6-month cleanings, because I think I can do that.
Really?
Yeah, why not? I floss, I do all that stuff. But, you know, what throws me off a little bit, and then a little bit of a ranty thing to start off with, because I'm on edge. I've been on edge for the last couple weeks for whatever reason. Just short. Not edge, but short. Like I'm short. No. I'm snappy. I'm
you're like a little
tick
puppy.
Me off. I think it had a lot to do probably with the hockey, probably ticked me off, the way you get treated, but just other stuff too. It's not just that, but I've been very short with people, which is something that happens. But anyway, at the dentist's office, they have the signs on the door that are like, before entering, make sure your mask is on. Mm-hmm. I'm totally fine with that. You go to a doctor's office, you go to something where there's medical stuff, totally fine with having to put a mask on.
Pretty much the norm now.
I have no problem with that. I think that makes a lot of sense if you go to I mean, I don't think the dentist's office really needs it.
Dentist is kind of weird because you're taking your mask off and you're getting teeth cleaned anyway.
Right. I don't think it's as much of a big deal as, you know, you go to the hospital or you go to a place, primary care physician, where people might be sick. Like, I get that. But that's not even the point. The point is, I walk through the door, my mask is on. The first thing they want to do is take your temperature on your forehead. And I'm like, really? And it's like, this has been disproven to be a determining factor of whether you have COVID or you don't have COVID. Like, maybe at the beginning they thought that meant something. And then after a while you're like, yeah, you don't have to have a fever in order to have fucking COVID. So that's one thing. Then they hand me, I'm like, really? And then they hand me the sheet of paper. I'm like, what's this? They're like, oh, it's the COVID checklist.
The COVID questionnaire.
I'm like, fuck off. And I just draw a line down the nose and I scribble on it. It's just like, I'm like, why are we doing this? And then the other woman behind the desk is like, COVID numbers are on the rise again and all of this. And I'm like, then why don't you wear your mask right? She was like, I am wearing my mask.
I'm wearing my chin diaper.
I'm like, but it's not over your nose. Like, so don't sit there and be like, you know, the COVID cases are up. I'm like, well, then why aren't you wearing your mask properly? Yeah. I am wearing it. I'm like, no, you're not covering your nose. So, like, anyway, whatever. So that was it. That was what I had to say to start it off.
They made me do the same thing when I went to my recent eye doctor appointment. It was mask up. Let me take your temperature on your forehead. And same thing, COVID questionnaire. And I thought we were over most of that, but I guess not.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm no COVID denier or anything, but at this juncture with the world
it's all conspiracy,
fully
Jared,
open and us traveling and everybody traveling in and out, it's like the people that will wear their masks when we're walking down the street. You sit there and you're like, why are you wearing your mask outside while you're walking down the street?
Now, the best is when they wear it and they're alone walking down the street.
I mean, I get, like, it's nice to hide behind things on occasion. You know what? You know, like, to feel like you're hiding and it gives you some comfort. But when
the only time I didn't mind wearing a mask was when it was like outside in the wintertime and I had to wear a mask around people or something like that, or at a hockey game or you know, whatever it may be. It's like actually like a face warmer.
Right. That makes sense. But at this point it was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, but if you're going to say that, it just ticks me off with the whole forehead thing. Like, my temperature doesn't matter. Get out your rectal thermometer if you really, really want to. No, I've been short, but let me intro. This is RAWtalk episode 20. Welcome to RAWtalk episode 20, where we talk raw. And we appreciate everybody who's been tuning in and subscribing, because the numbers have been going up, which is nice as we organically promote it throughout other means. And you guys are coming back, so we absolutely appreciate it. And you could always text us at 313-710-9729, but also do hashtags. I've been seeing them. I've been seeing hashtags on the latest videos. They're funny. And that's
so random.
Yeah, but you know what? With the hashtag, so you do the hashtag and then be like, RAWtalk episode whatever, so we know what episode it came from.
Sure.
So far we got like a hashtag of, no, not fuck your masks. That's not correct. But fuck your temperature taking. Nope, not that either. We don't want to curse. Hashtag Jared's a snitchy bitch. I don't know. Jared's a snitchy bitch.
Jared's a short, angry man.
Yeah, that. I'm a short, angry man right now. There's more stuff that ticks me off lately, Steven. You want to know what the next thing that ticked me off this week was?
Oh, sure. Why not?
YouTube partner manager.
Oh.
For those of you out there don't know, most people don't know this, but YouTube started a partner manager program years and years ago. And the partner manager was there for people that had like 100,000 subscribers or more when it first started. And what that did is it gave you someone that was in touch with YouTube on the Google side that could give you input, answer questions, help you with any concerns, anything that you might run into issues about. And that was all well and good back then. And then every 6 months, what happened is they would leave. They would go get promoted to another division, and you would start with someone new. And they'd ask you the same stupid questions. What is your goal for your YouTube channel? You know what the goal for my YouTube channel is, Steven?
Make buku bucks.
No, that's third. Subscribers, views, and money, because subscribers and views equal money.
Yep.
So those are my goals. But so I've gone through 6 or 7 or 8 different people, and then I just got tired of it. I'm like, I don't care, because they're not even helpful. I know more than they know.
It reminds me of one of those like corporate sales gigs where they last like 6 months to a year, and then they got another person in that same position. And every single 6 months, you're dealing with somebody brand new who's probably not a creator or never have actually posted a YouTube video themselves. Yet they're giving you advice, which I find ironic.
Well, they're given information from YouTube, but it's not stuff that's helpful. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, have you thought about changing your titles or working on your thumbnails? And I'm like, yeah, cool, great, grand. I mean, they actually.
Can you tell me how to beat the algorithm, please?
Well, this woman was new over there. She's good. She knew what she was doing in terms of reading the script and everything. But she asked the question. And I'm tough on the phone because I don't do niceties like, oh, where are you right now? It looks like you're in a park. You're walking. I'm like, yeah, I'm in the park.
How are you doing? You're like, let's get right down to business.
I'm like, let's get right to it.
What is it? How do I beat it? How do I
Do you
make
want to
more
take
money?
my temperature over Zoom?
Do I wear a mask during this Zoom meeting?
So I show them. I'm like, I'm in Philly. Oh, is that New York? No, I hate New York. But that's always the thing. People think I'm in.
You said you were in Philly, and they said, "Is that?"
I showed them the bridge in the background because I was at the park. I was right by Influencer Rock. I figure I might as well be by Influencer Rock for this phone call. It was nice out, so I went and did that. And you know, they do the normal stuff. Like, I just want to get an idea of what your goals are and what you hope to see through your YouTube, partner. And I'm like, no, like, no. And then they ask the question of, what do you do outside of YouTube for work?
YouTube is life.
And I'm like, this is my job. I'm like, I don't understand why you're asking. I don't know if I said that, but I'm like, I'm not sure. I'm like, I'm not sure. I actually think I said, I'm not sure why you're actually asking that. I'm like, have you looked at my channel?
But let me get this right. So they only deal with people that usually have 1 million plus subscribers, I assume.
Yeah.
Why would that not be your main job?
I don't know why that was a question.
You think we're just doing
I don't know
it for
why
fun?
that was a question.
You got to dedicate every single hour of the day pretty much to have a YouTube channel with 1 million plus subscribers.
Yeah, and have full-time employees. Yeah. I mean, and Dan.
And Dan.
That's funny. That's funny. So anyway, that call lasted 14 minutes because by the time we got to 4:14, well, I see our time is up for the day. If you'd like to schedule another discussion, we can take a deep dive into your analytics. I'm like, yeah, no.
I mean, the analytic conversation isn't bad because we don't really do that much of a deep dive with. There's so many analytics on the back end of YouTube.
There's a lot that's over the top.
Yeah.
It gets even better because, last night before I go to bed, I'm looking at comments on the latest video. And of course, there's the "you've been shortlisted, telegram me" comment. So we had this discussion with the YouTube creator partner that YouTube needs to do a better job with these scammers.
Yep.
Because I put Telegram as a keyword to ban from my YouTube and it still shows up.
Which makes no sense.
Block them.
Banned words should be banned.
Right. Exactly. And I put the check mark on the thing that says, be more strict with comments. I did all that. So I send her a screen grab of this happening. And the reply back is, I looked at your channel and you might want to check this box. The box that she was referring to is the default one that puts it on all the time, which actually wasn't there when it first came out. That was not there as part of the defaults. But we manually click that box every time we upload a video. So I'm just like, I know what I'm doing. I actually said that on the phone too. I'm like, I know what I'm doing. Like,
for those that don't know, that little checkbox we're talking about is supposed to be holding strict comments at that point, like WhatsApp, Telegram me, these BS comments, these scammers, all of that. And yet it really does nothing, in my opinion. I've still seen all of these comments come through. Even when I'm blocking them on the back end, they still somehow come through, or they make another name in like 2 seconds.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the ticked offness I woke up with this morning. Was the emails that I got from her was, maybe you should do this. And it's like, I honestly know what I'm doing. Oh, the last thing about the YouTube partner managers, is what's interesting is the ones in the past that worked with some big YouTube names, a lot of them left YouTube and started to actually manage the channels that they were helping. So instead of working for YouTube, they actually went to work with the creator as their manager.
Business manager, essentially.
Right,
yeah,
because they knew the inside a little bit from YouTube. And there's other creators, partner managers, that actually went on to be their own start their own YouTube channels because they saw how it worked.
If you can dish out great advice that's actually works, why not start your own channel at that point?
All right, so here's what we're going to go in today if we have time. We're going to go into C-stand guy.
Discuss.
C-stand guy getting pushed by the football player. We're going to talk about the Sony ZV-1. Is it the F or the H? What's it called?
ZV-1F. The F is for fail.
We're going to talk about Canon R6 II discussion because some more stuff has leaked. And we're going to get into I actually have a special guest for about a 14-ish minute conversation, Brad Mangin, who critiqued my baseball photos. The reason I brought him on is that did I do that to my camera again? I did.
Because you talk with your hands. You're like an Italian.
I know. No one can see me, but I'm talking with my hands, and it turned the link, the 360 link camera tracking back onto me. Brad critiqued my baseball photos and has shot plenty of World Series for Sports Illustrated. So I thought it would be good to discuss with him me going and photographing the Phillies, as I have a pass for tomorrow, Friday, which is Friday, and Saturday to photograph the 2 home games. So I thought it would be great to get a 10-minute quick tip, just brain dump on what I should be thinking about, and we'll get to that shortly. But Steven,
yes,
the Artemis launch was rescheduled for November at midnight.
Great timing. Midnight, November, sounds perfect.
It's just that, it just means that, I'll probably have to get there at like noon. No, I'll probably have to get there at like 3 in the afternoon. If they're doing, I need to email them again and be like, hey, are we still good to come back, and have it fail again? But whatever, we'll try it.
What is the game plan now? It's now a completely different shoot. It's a night shoot. It's not a day shoot. It's not a early morning rise shoot.
I have to go look at some of the photos that these guys have taken. One of the guys I talked to that I crash at his house, he's like, it's not much different than during the day. It's just brighter. Not brighter, but...
are we talking like long exposure trails, that kind of stuff too? Because it's nighttime.
You can do that. I don't know what I'm going to do, Steven. I honestly don't know. But I know that will light it up. But honestly, when it's flying in the sky, it's not going to be lit up too well.
Exactly.
It's going to have the fire
It's just
burning.
The initial launch is going to be lit up well, but then once it's, a little bit off the ground, it's going to be pretty dark.
Sure. It's going to be cool to watch it go, but the whole point is, if you can't tell that it's the Artemis rocket and it looks just like a regular rocket, then what's the point?
I just feel like you're going to be a little more limited in time. You're going to only have that initial launch. How long is it until it's actually in the air? 20, 30 seconds?
6 seconds.
6 seconds.
7 seconds. About 8 seconds. It clears the tower, I believe.
During the day, I feel like you could kind of track it and still keep going and trying to shoot through that atmosphere. But
you'll be able to track that fireball coming from the back ass of it.
But the exposure difference is going to be tough.
The exposure difference is going to be tough. It's just going to be getting the fire. I'm going to go look up what these guys have shot at night to see if it's any good. Most likely it's not any good.
You'll just have to do what you do best, Jared. Dodge and burn in post.
I'll just figure it out when I get there. I'll just have to figure it out when we get there. So this week, let's start off with this Davante Adams for the what are they called? The Las Vegas Raiders at this point.
Yeah.
He shoved a guy holding a C-stand, which looks to be a Steadicam operator stand, is what some people have said. And Petapixel keeps saying shove the photographer when they're just a C-stand carrying person. I wouldn't call them a photographer, so I'm just going to say that again. But if you aren't following what happened, the Raiders were winning pretty big and then ended up losing. But on the way off the field, Davante Adams and this other guy converge on the same area, and Davante Adams shoves him down to the ground where the guy falls, doesn't drop the C-stand, then gets back up, and then Davante Adams proceeds to go into the locker room, and he apologizes later when he's being interviewed about it. And now the person who was pushed filed a lawsuit or filed an assault charge.
Of course they did.
Somebody said it sounds like I was victim blaming in RAWtalk in photo news. Now, I wasn't victim blaming in photo news. I was just pointing out some tips for. So let me just break down the video. If you haven't seen it, this is what happens. The Davante Adams is coming off the field. You've got this person carrying this C-stand.
I'm just walking by with a C-stand.
Is walking in a different area, but he's about to cross the area where the players go off the field.
Just going to walk right here, right in front of everybody?
He wasn't looking. He was just walking, and at the same time he gets to right in front of where the players go out, Davante Adams gets there, and Davante Adams clearly shoves him.
Bam.
Davante could have stopped. He could have accidentally bumped him. He could have grabbed him and held him up.
At least
if that was
helped
the thing.
him up, exactly.
Well, no, I mean hold him up. Like if you run into someone, you could be like, "Ooh, sorry," and you kind of like hug them.
Sure, yeah.
To make sure they don't fall, but he actually absolutely shoved him.
And hey,
didn't look like the guy was injured.
We all have our days. We all can be short and angry.
Are you trying to say I'm short and angry, Steven?
But there's no room for pushing or shoving or any physical violence on somebody else. That's not acceptable at all.
Correct. He should not have shoved him or pushed him. And the advice that I gave during Photo News Fix was, here's what you could think about when you're in these situations if you're on a sideline. I'm always making sure the players, like before I cross an area where players might be walking, I look both ways. I look for the security guards, and I a lot of times wait for them to wave me through.
It's playing Frogger in real life.
Like, yeah, is anybody coming? Because I don't want to get in the way of any of the athletes. I don't want to be pushed, shoved. I don't want to have someone trip over me. I don't want to have any issues whatsoever. So a lot of times when I'm walking, I make sure that I look both ways. I look at the security guard. I make sure it's okay to pass, and then I go through. In this case, he didn't. He just kept walking. So
they need to have a crossing guard there.
Well, they usually do have security when players are coming. Security usually steps out, puts their arms out, and is like, hold on. Right? Players crossing. And that's a thing. So it's not the guy's fault for getting shoved. He should have never been shoved. Just saying that in the future,
he also should have been aware of his surroundings.
Should be aware of your surroundings. Yeah. Now, the lawsuit part of it is, according to the police account of the incident, the victim of the alleged assault was a photographer. No. C-stand carrying guy. C-stand carrying guy.
He's a grip.
He's a grip. At the football game at Arrowhead Stadium, and he was pushed to the ground, causing injury. After the game, the photographer made his own arrangements to be taken to a hospital for treatment, at which time he called the police. ESPN confirmed the cameraman in question. Oh, now he's a cameraman? In question was a freelancer working for Monday Night Football.
So he was there, yeah, for the whole production and all of that. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone got on the call and was like, "Hey, we need you here now, stat with that C-stand and that light or whatever he was carrying, Steadicam rig."
It was a Steadicam rig. They didn't need him anywhere.
How do you know?
Because they didn't need him anywhere. It's the game's over. He can wait to. You just got to be aware of your surroundings.
Post game interviews and all that.
No, I know that, but still, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be aware.
Of course,
whatever.
Yeah.
But now there's alternative. There's some other stuff added here. Sports publication Marca writes that the man was completely unaware of his surroundings and moving at a quick speed.
It did look like he was running, right?
He wasn't running. He was just walking.
Okay.
No, he was walking, but I'm not going to put the blame fully on him at all. He should have never been pushed.
Sure.
In this situation, if you converge because you sometimes your brain is somewhere else if you're on the sidelines, like you just said, maybe he got the call that he needed to rush over to somewhere because they needed something. Okay. And yes, sometimes your brain goes there, but imagine if you shoved an athlete, what would happen? Right?
Yeah.
So it's not his fault for that. It's not his fault for getting shoved. He should have never been shoved.
I think the lawsuit's a little much. I'm sure.
So I'm going to keep reading. Adams admitted that he was frustrated at the way the game ended. This is the guy, the football player. Sorry to the guy I pushed over after the game. Obviously very frustrated at the way the game ended. And when he ran in front of me as I exited, was my reaction, and I felt horrible immediately. That's not me. My apologies to the man. Hope you see this. What I like about the apology is he didn't. Well, I think he tried to say that at the beginning he didn't shove the guy, and then he finally in the locker room was like, "Yeah, I pushed the guy. I shouldn't have done that."
You got to admit
fine.
guilt. Yeah,
like, shit happens. Official Raiders wide was charged this morning in the municipal court city with a misdemeanor assault. So that was from yesterday. He was charged with assault. Now, the guy went to the hospital. They said that he might have had a partial concussion or some whiplash. I can't tell you whether he didn't or not.
Sure,
I don't want
we
to sit here and be like,
we can't really speculate on that. But my thought is, call my lawyer right after. Hey, are you hurt? Are you hurt? Okay. Well, how about you should go to the hospital immediately, and then we're going to file for a lawsuit tomorrow saying you got hurt, blah, 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 make a lot of money.
If he's hurt, legitimately hurt, has a concussion and whiplash, fine. But they're like, he made his own arrangements to go to the hospital, which means he wasn't hurt. There was no ambulance. Yeah. He wasn't hurt. If he was hurt and got taken away by an ambulance because they were questioning whether he was, of course, anything can happen. You may feel your head later, whatever.
Exactly.
But not putting the blame on this guy, but I've been in situations where things like Marilyn Manson spit water at me, right? Marilyn Manson got in trouble because a photographer sued him for getting spit on at a show, right? The guy filed a lawsuit, an assault lawsuit. When I got spit by water, Manson made eye contact with me, took a sip of his water, and then squirted it out of his mouth at me, right? And I turned my back, and it hit me in the back of my shirt, and I kept going, but he made eye contact, and to me, it felt like that wasn't a malicious, why are you here? It was making me part of the show for him.
Yeah.
He was toying with me. And I wasn't like, I'm going to sue him after the fact, or that's assault because he shot water at me. Now, there's different situations. If he takes out his penis and he pisses on you, that's an assault.
I mean, it's a little different than spitting on you.
Well, that's different. That's different. Now, that's different.
Yes, very different.
So, no, but I'm just saying, but those are the situations. So in this case, he got shoved. I hope the guy's okay. I hope he didn't get hurt. I personally, if I'm in a situation, if I'm not hurt, I'm not suing you. I'll take your apology. That's fine. I'm not suing you. If you break my gear, pay for my gear. I'm not suing you. We're not a litigious family, as my dad used to say. I wonder if there's any update on ESPN about this. Davante Adams charged with misdemeanor assault and Monday Night Football. It's all from a day ago, so there's probably no updates on any of this at this point. Yep, the man shoved identified suffered whiplash, a headache, and a possible minor concussion from the incident, according to records. Yeah, I got nothing.
Yeah.
I got nothing.
Same.
We're not going to sit there and play the video back, but it sounds like victim blaming. It's not fully victim blaming. Be aware of your surroundings. He should have never been shoved in the first place. If he's hurt, I hope he's not hurt bad, and I hope they rectify it soon.
Yep.
All right, Steven, why don't we go into the main topic that you wanted to talk about today, the Sony ZV-1F.
ZV-1F, yes. No, it's the ZV-1F.
By Sony.
And no, this is not the ZV-1 Mark II. This is not the successor to that ZV-1. This is totally a different camera. This is now essentially taking that body from the ZV-1 and putting a fixed 20mm lens on it, 20mm equivalent, f2 lens, to try and make it more of a vlogging-friendly camera. And it's also at a cheaper price point, a more affordable price point. It's $500 versus the $700 of the ZV-1. Now, the main difference is here, the ZV-1 has that 24 to 70 2.8 lens with the built-in 3-stop ND filter. Better for vlogging, in my opinion. Granted, 24 is not the widest angle lens, but you can still kind of get away with it. I still think both of these cameras in general, I wouldn't go with if I was doing some sort of vlogging or filming. I'd rather choose something like an M50 Mark II or even the ZV-E10 for that matter. But what I don't like about this camera, I've played with it at the factory for minutes. I mean, it feels like a cheap toy. Sony sent this to us, last week?
Yeah.
And it's basically the same body, like I said. But the thing I don't like is that it's a 20mm f2 lens and there's no stabilization in the body at all. And they're marketing it as a vlogging camera. So the footage that I've seen so far is shaky as hell. Now, it does have an active mode digital stabilization, but the issue there is then it crops into your frame, making it essentially a 25mm equivalent, and you're not getting that wide angle lens that they're marketing. It just makes no sense to me what Sony is doing with this ZV-1F camera.
And what's it priced at?
Like I said, it's priced at $500. So it's affordable. It's cheap, in my opinion, for a camera, for a 1-inch sensor camera.
But $500 at this point, you're like, well, my iPhone cost me $1,000.
And that's the thing. Like Gerald Undone, for example, did a versus iPhone 14 Pro versus Google Pixel 7 versus this camera. And I thought the iPhone footage looked better. Now, granted, this new ZV-1F looked better in extreme low light situations, but at that point, it all kind of looks like shit. It still doesn't look great even with the ZV-1F. It's a 1-inch sensor, but the iPhone completely falls apart. But how often are you filming in a completely dark environment like that?
Well, Steven, let me tell you, this one time.
Heyo.
But I mean, I agree with you. I don't understand why they keep coming out with these types of things.
Just use your phone at this point. That's the thing.
Exactly. Your phone can do a similar job, even though it's a smaller sensor than a 1-inch sensor.
But it's a fixed lens. Actually, if anything, you have 2 or 3 lenses with your phone.
You have more options with your phone. And no, it's not a real camera to hold on to. And if you want to plug in microphones, you have to still plug in microphones the old-fashioned way to make it work. But it's really a stripped-down ZV-1, which was okay as a camera. Like, it's fine, but bigger sensor is going to be better for vlogging. Wider angle is going to be better. Image stabilization is a necessity. The ND filter built in, I mean, I guess you can take that or leave that. But, you know, I didn't actually sit through the phone call for this one, Steven.
There's no need for
I never
a camera
got a
like
link,
this.
actually. I never got the link. I signed up for it, but it never came in.
We did get like a spec sheet and outline in general.
But I don't care. Like, I got the camera and it's like, I don't...
Wasn't even worthy of a video.
No, it wasn't worthy of a video. It will go into Photo News Fix next week, but having just a 20 millimeter lens and not even having the option to zoom as a vlogger is kind of bad, because vloggers like to, hey, we're talking to myself, so I'm talking to the camera, I'm talking, it's wide angle, I'm like, oh, guys, check this out. I turn the camera around. You quickly zoom it in to show what you were looking at. Even if it's a 3x zoom, it doesn't matter. It at least shows something.
Now, they do have the clear image zoom, but essentially that's a digital zoom, which you can mimic in post anyway, so that's not the best option. The other thing, speaking of zooming, the autofocus is contrast detect only as well on these 1-inch sensor cameras. So it's shitty, you know, that whole like zoom in, zoom out rack, and then finally hit your subject. It's not a nice, smooth phase detect autofocus rack.
That's not good.
And super slow scanning speed, rolling shutter. And again, I understand this is a $500 camera. I can't expect all the bells and whistles, but why even offer it if your iPhone's most likely going to do a better job? And when it comes to audio options, you can easily buy a dongle adapter for the phone that can take these Deity or all the other Rode microphones, that kind of stuff. You just got to kind of rig your phone. That's the only thing. You got to kind of buy a case of some sort so you can put the microphone on top, where this already has the hot chew and the cold chew, whatever.
I'm not a fan of cameras. The iPhone, when they put it in rigs, you know, I'm like, at that point, just get a real camera. Seriously.
Exactly. I agree. Now, also, it doesn't shoot RAW, where your iPhone can at least shoot RAW. Like, there's no RAW photo capability. It's JPEG only. Granted, I don't think that's the demographic they're going after.
That's not why people are buying that.
But still, at least give me the option. The only pro that I found with this camera over the ZV-1, it does have the new menu and the new touch functionality and all that. But still, that's not a huge selling point to me.
I don't know who they sell these to. Obviously, they know their business better than we do, and that's why they keep making this stuff. But it's just, Sony has a way when you're on calls with them to really ramp up the marketing lingo and try to explain to you that, oh, this is better than a phone. It's like, well, first off, you guys have phones with 1-inch sensors in it. Why aren't you promoting your phone instead of a ZV-1?
Because their phones are like $2,000, aren't they?
Yes, sometimes $1,000 around, but still, they have a 1-inch sensor in a phone. It's like, stop telling us that phones suck for video, and then put this out when you guys also make phones, and then you come to us to promote a phone and tell us how good it is for video and photos.
Now, I will say they did hit that really sweet spot of $500, which there's not much out there. I mean, you still have the D3500 we're talking about with that $500 kit. 2-kit lens and all that you can get. The M50 Mark II is $700, but then again, people buying this are probably really on a budget and can only afford $500 all in. So I don't know, it's $200 more. You get the lens too with the M50 Mark II. Is that asking a lot?
I mean, here's an M50 Mark II refurbished directly from Canon for $599.
Yeah, and it's APS-C sensor at least. You get a decent lens of 15 to 45, which is what equivalent?
15. Well, 17.5 was 24 millimeter. 24.
You gotta keep in mind, Canon is 1.6 crop too.
Yeah, 1.6.
So 15 times 1.6, 24. It's a 24 equivalent. So you're looking at basically a ZV-1 24 to 70 lens.
Right, not as wide. But you can also, yeah. That's still.
But they have the 11 to 22 lens that you used to use.
Yeah, but then you're spending more money again. But even that, the 24 is fine. They hold it out a little further, but I rather have the larger sensor anyway myself.
I just think the market here is very small when you already have the ZV-1. I think they should have kind of used some R&D and put it towards the ZV-1 Mark II at this point, even though the ZV-1's only, a year old?
Well, they're basically using the same shell. They're using everything the same, and they just changed the lens out.
Yeah.
Don't know why. Don't know why. Nora Jones.
I'm curious if people would actually use something like this over the iPhone when the image quality is really not much different.
The answer is no, and because $500 is now a lot. Is a lot of money no matter what. When you have something in your pocket that's already capable,
and the iPhone is essentially what, $800,000, $900,000, something like that.
Yeah, depends on your options, but yeah.
So you are spending a lot. So it's hard to say someone buy an iPhone and then also buy this camera on top of that.
Right, and the iPhone already does a million other things.
Yep.
Photos, video. Anyway,
and the iPhone has that cinematic mode too, where if you're getting the Pro, that blurry background and all of that. You kind of mimic.
It still looks like shit.
Sure. Yeah.
It's still, I wouldn't, do that.
I've seen actually a lot of beginner YouTubers using that now, and it actually doesn't look that bad, especially when you're viewing it on a phone, which I'm sure 50% of viewers or even more viewing it on an iPhone these days.
Yeah, that seems to be the way of the way of the world, Steven.
I consume probably 95% of YouTube on my phone.
Yeah, and I don't.
Usually on the toilet.
Me.
What?
No, not me. All right, let's move on to this the Canon rumors here.
Yes, sir.
Go for it.
So they're saying the Canon R6 Mark II is coming, which I feel like the R6 just came out. I mean, what, 2 years? Maybe two and a half years at this point? Yeah. It came out in July of 2020, released the same time as the R5. So my question is there an R5 Mark II on the horizon as well? Are they going to announce it at the same time, or are they going to hold off on that? I don't know. I just feel like based on the specs they're giving us, which we'll go over in a second, it doesn't seem like it's offering that much for a Mark II version. This is more like an S in-between line version like Nikon does. Unlike Canon used to do, where they're doing a Mark II, Mark III, Mark IV, and they're waiting that 3, 4, 5 year period in between. This seems more like a in-between update.
My whole thing is, I know that's how like Canon used to do it.
Based on Canon's past, yeah.
I get it. Nikon has always done the tweener. And it was like 4 or 5 years. They would do a Nikon D2H, then they'd make some tweaks, and they'd do a D2HS, or they would do a D2X, and then a D2 XS, D3, D3S, D4, D4S. Then they did the
right?
D5. Yeah, just every 2 years. And then they did the D6. So what's happening is technology is changing, and instead of waiting for the full redo, they can make some tweaks,
keep the same shell, and yeah.
Right, and just make those tweaks to make it slightly better. It's not always meant for someone who already owns the one to go ahead and sell it. There's no necessity. It's more for continuing in the market to get the new buyer who was thinking about buying that camera, and now 2 years after it came out, they're like, you know what? Here's a new version of this. I might as well come and get it. So what are the specs we get? What the rumored specs?
So at first, Canon rumors released specs for an R8 coming out, and I think they meant that it was actually for this camera, because then the next day or just a couple hours later, they released specs on the R6 Mark II, basically saying that maybe this is what the R8 was going to be, and it's actually an R6 Mark II coming out and not an R8. Anyway, spec-wise, they're saying 24 megapixel full-frame CMOS sensor. And if you're familiar with the camera that you use, there's another camera that has a 24 megapixel full frame sensor that Canon makes. So my question is, are they making a mini R3 at this point? Is this the stacked sensor from the R3? Because at that point,
you're getting a stacked sensor.
I'm just saying, at that point, traditionally in the past, the R6 has always gotten the flagship sensor, the 1DX Mark III, for example.
But it's not stacked.
It wasn't stacked. But I'm saying now stacked technology is there with Canon, and the R3 has it. Are they now going to give the R6 Mark II that flagship sensor?
And dumb it down to 12 frames a second? Well,
I don't know.
See, what doesn't make sense is...
Because that would then be a big deal.
Yeah, but here, the even these rumored specs, it's 12 frames per second mechanical.
Same,
it wouldn't make
does.
sense.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't make sense, because at that point, with a stacked sensor, you're not even going to worry about using the shutter, because you're going to mostly shoot silent because it has such a fast readout speed, which means it would get more than 12 frames a second.
Keep in mind, the R3 does 12 frames mechanical.
Does it? I've never shot it once mechanically.
It does. It does.
So
12,
I don't even know the spec.
It does 12 frames mechanical, 30 electronic, stacked, obviously. Now, they didn't announce the actual electronic shutter frame rate here. Yeah. So my question is it, or maybe they limit it to 20 or 15 even. I don't care. Give me 15. That's fine for a $2,600 body versus paying $6,000 for an R3. I just think if they made like a dumbed down version of the R3, then that would then warrant a Mark II version of the R6. If it's just a 24 megapixel sensor and all these specs are essentially the same, why even put it out this soon?
The same reason as putting the Z6 out and the Z6 II out.
But the Z6 II gave you a grip option, gave you another processor, dual processors. It gave you another card slot. This is giving you, so let me just read the specs over real quick for those that aren't aware. They're saying dual pixel RAW and RAW burst. I think that RAW burst means kind of what the R3 has, that 195 frames per second maybe burst. And then this dual pixel RAW, all these cameras have had that already. We never use it personally. Dual pixel CMOS AF, they're not saying version 2. I don't know. I mean, that's the current R6. In-body stabilization, current R6 has that. Digital teleconverter, which to me is just like an APS-C
Digital
crop
zoom.
or something. Yeah. 12 frames mechanical. Hybrid auto, I don't know what that means. I don't know what hybrid auto means either. And then they're saying 4K 30 no crop, which the current R6 does, 4K 60 cropped. Now, a lot of people were annoyed about this because they were saying, well, the current R6 is a 1.1x crop. Why would there be crop 4K 60 in this? I don't know. It'd be weird if they went backwards and gave it like an APS-C crop with this new camera. Now, if you did 4K 60 with a 24 megapixel camera, you should be able to do a full pixel readout with no binning if they're doing the Digic-X processor, because the R3 can do all of this on its own already. Canon Log 3, which I don't think the current one has C-Log 3. Cloud RAW processing, they're saying. They said SD, SDHC dual card slot, which again, current one already has. Not much change in the form factor over the original R6, they're saying, so probably the same shell of a body. And that's it. I mean, to me, everything is the same except that sensor. So unless they're giving it a stacked sensor from the R3, this is kind of a very mediocre release update.
Well, again, like I said, it's only been a couple years, and I don't have a problem with it, because you're not going to hit home runs every time you put out a new camera. It's not about hitting home runs. It's about making subtle tweaks. There's got to be something that the camera does that the R6 won't do, that the R6 II does, but it's not the most extreme advancement in the world. Thus why it's not called the what. I don't know what else their nomenclature would be, but I get your point.
So if they gave this some of the updated features from the R5, like 4K 120, if they gave it the bigger and higher res touchscreen, like that's 3.2 inch 2 million dots versus 3 inch 1.6 million dots, not a big deal, but very small little things like this. A higher res EVF, the 5.36 million dot one versus the 3.2 one. The updated card slots, maybe CF Express B and 1SD. The video modes, there's a lot of the manual video modes that the R5 has that the R6 does not have. All eye recording, the higher compression, the top mode dial like the R5. If they did give it some of that and made it a little different than the current R6, then I could see, okay, it's kind of a worthy update. But again, I know you're saying it's not meant for like the current R6 user, right? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But don't they want to kind of push people to upgrade with their R6 to the Mark II? Like for me, the 5D, for example, I had the 5D 2, then the 3, and then the 4. And now I pretty much use the R5 from work. But I always upgraded with, and same with you, you always upgraded with the S versions, every single camera.
I did.
I don't even know if this is even worthy of upgrading from an R6 is what I'm saying.
Well, when I had the D2H, I didn't upgrade to a D2HS because it just made no sense at the time. The S really didn't add very much.
Yeah.
But when I could afford stuff and I was a working professional, I would always dump the latest camera and get the mid-level refresh because it's going to hold more value over the next 2 years. I always say that, but that's for working professionals. If you're just a hobbyist and a shooter and you just got your R6 a year or two ago, it's still going to do everything for you, right? Unless you actually make money or don't worry about money, then buy whatever the hell you want. But this being a tweener thing, maybe they just came out with some tweaks that they're going to be adding to some future camera, and they're like, you know what? Let's add it to the the R6 Mark II. And if people want to switch, cool, let them switch over to the new one. And if not, we're going to sell this new model for the next 2 years while we work on the next thing, which is the major upgrade.
Do you think they will give it the R3 sensor?
That's tough, man.
Because at that point, the R3 is going to be out for a little over a year, and they're probably already working on the R1. I assume they've been working on that.
So I guess my answer would be, if they go with the R3 sensor, they're going to have to limit its capabilities in some way, in some form. So if we're just going to play the game here and say they want to go all out, sure, they can add that sensor and they can say it's going to shoot at X frames per second mechanical and X frames a second with the silent, but you can't crush the R3. You can't put a mini R3 out and expect people to still go spend $6,000, even though you get better build quality, bigger battery, and all that good stuff. There's got to be some limiting factors. And then there's people that will bitch about the limiting factors. It's like, they have to do that.
I get that, yeah.
You know, so
again, back to the ZV-1F conversation, I don't expect it to have all the bells and whistles of the R6 camera, but still, it's a $500 piece of shit. Anyway, speaking again, though, of R3 sensor in this body, why would they cripple the R3? It's kind of what they did with the 1DX Mark III. They put that out first. A year later, put the R6 out. Why would you buy the 1DX Mark III at that point when you've got the dual pixel AF mirrorless tech in this R6 and same sensor?
Yeah, I'm not sure why anybody today would invest in DSLRs and put up a whole kit of a 1DX Mark III and buy, like, be super excited. I saw someone did this, and they should never do that. They should never, in this day and age, purchase an entire EF lens lineup.
I just looked at the pricing for the 1DX Mark III, thinking maybe, it's like $5,000 or $4,500 now because it's how, it's older than everything else, and the R3's out now. It's still $6,500. It's still the same exact price it was announced at, when you can buy an R3 for $500 less and get a stacked sensor and double the frame rate.
Doesn't make any sense, Steven.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know. We'll see what comes out. Again, if it does have the R3 sensor, I think that's a very big deal and worthy of buying an R6 Mark II, especially if you're a sports shooter or something like that. Even though we did still see great results using the 20 frames per second electronic shutter. You're going to get jelloing and rolling shutter, but it wasn't terrible. It was still a somewhat fast readout.
Yep. Let's move on to Brad. Let's move on to the Phillies playoffs.
Speaking of sports, yes.
Playoffs. So we were happier yesterday before the Phillies lost last night after a long rain delay, but the Phillies did make it to the playoffs. They did beat the St. Louis Cardinals, and they have made it to the next round, which means they were guaranteed to get 2 home games. And I was told that if they do get home games, I will be getting a credential. So I have been approved for my credentials for Friday's game and Saturday's game, and that's very nice.
Nice.
And I've never shot a playoff Phillies game. I've never shot a playoff anything.
It's exciting.
Well, pro sports. I haven't. Flyers have never been in a Stanley Cup in the modern era of me taking pictures.
And it being your home team is pretty awesome, too.
It is. I mean, the only thing is I'll be forced to stay for the whole game this time. I haven't stayed for one full game this year, but this time there's actual...
think the amount of times you stayed over the past few
6
months,
innings.
I was going to say, would it add up to a full game?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I would stay for 6, 7 innings.
Oh, you do stay
for more than that. I would, but sometimes the only time, one of the times I left super early was when I was there to get the 195 frames per second, and Schwarber hit a home run on the first pitch where I was taking pictures at 195 frames a second.
One and done.
So I had a couple of examples, and I already got it. So there was no reason for me to really stay at that game much longer because I already fulfilled my assignment for myself for that.
Yep.
Now, speaking of assignments, Brad Mangin, he has shot so many baseball games and playoffs and been there in San Francisco as the Giants have won the World Series. And I figured he would be a great person to talk to because he used to have Sports Illustrated assignments when that existed to go shoot baseball. And I got him on to do an interview. We recorded this on Wednesday, before the Phillies were going to play. What happened is we talk a lot about Thursday, which is when we're recording this, being a workout day where you could go get the lay of the land, see where you're going to be, pick up your passes. That would have been all well and good. We didn't know this at the time that the Phillies game was going to be delayed from a 4:37 start to a 7:37 start last night because of rain. And then basically everything got out of whack, and I didn't end up having an opportunity to know the timing for when this whole interview day was going to happen. So you'll hear the interview. It's still valuable information, what he's giving me.
Yeah.
Just know that it ended up not happening, that I went on Thursday, which is when we're recording this, to get the warm-up day because it's now raining here. All that rain from Atlanta came up to here today, and that's that. So anything before we start this interview, Steven?
I'm going to try and bump up his audio a little bit, but it is a little rough just because I think he's recording right on his laptop, but it should at least be audible at this point.
Yes, we use good microphones.
Yes, it might be a little bit different
Brad?
than what you're hearing right now.
You hear that, Brad? Time to get a microphone. All right, here we go. Here is the discussion with Brad. Enjoy.
Jared, how are you? Thanks for having me. I think it's really cool that you're going to be shooting your first postseason baseball games coming up this week.
Yep.
And there's a lot to prepare for. My first suggestion, if possible, would be to go to the workout day on, I believe that would be Thursday.
It's going to be raining here.
Doesn't matter. If they have a workout day, the reason I say that is I always would go to the workout day because they usually mark photo positions on that day. And it's always good. I would always go to workout day. A lot of times I wouldn't even bring my cameras. I would just go to get my credential because it's always less stressful to get your credential on workout day, because if you wait till the day of the game, there's always a big line. You got to deal with stuff. Get my credential on workout day. Just alleviates that whole thing. And then you cruise into the ballpark, and guys will be there because even if it's raining, they'll be hitting in the indoor cages and they'll be doing press conferences inside. There will be people on the field doing stuff. Miles Kennedy will be there with other people. They will be marking photo positions. For those of you out there, Miles Kennedy is the great Phillies team photographer. He and his staff will be in charge of marking photo positions. And this way, you find out where you will be shooting from before you come to the ballpark on game day. And this will help you decide what gear you need to bring. It gives you a game plan so you're not showing up blind on the day of the game, not knowing where you're going to be shooting from, because it's the playoffs, it's the big leagues. You are not going to be roaming around shooting from wherever you want. You will be assigned a photo position, and you will be pretty locked into there, with the exception of going around and shooting overalls if you choose to. So this way, you will have a specific idea of where you're shooting from that can help wrangle in your mindset on what gear you need to bring. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's awesome, because I was unaware. I know that my contacts said something about workout day, but I didn't know that maybe I don't have any information. So I just texted Miles. I know he's getting ready for the baseball game. Hopefully he reply. I did send him a message about his Castellanos photo. He did get him sliding and capturing that diving ball in the ninth inning yesterday, which was great. So he did get that. But no, this is great. Show up early. One, if your pass isn't there, it's much easier to get it situated then on Thursday than waiting until game day on Friday.
Workout day is, I've covered millions of these games, and I always would go, because I would always be working for Sports Illustrated, usually here covering these playoff games. And at workouts, we don't need, the workout days are for the local papers and the wires because they need pictures. SI, we wouldn't need pictures from workout day. My job was as the logistical guy to go and take care of all that stuff and make sure our photo positions were good and that the credentials were taken care of. So I would just always go with no cameras and just to take care. It takes care of the stress on game day. So on game day, you have your credential, you know where your position is, you're locked in, and it will just make game day way easier.
I think that's great, because then that helps you decide on what to take. Because right now I'm not torn, but right now I'm sitting on a Sony 400-2.8. I had to send back my newer RF Canon 400 and 600s, but I have an A1. I could put a 400 on that, but it all depends on where I'm going to be, because I also have older 600 EFs and 400 EFs version 2s that I can throw on the R3 as well. So I know what I want to take, but I also kind of like the idea of recording with the Sony, because I have the electronic viewfinder. I can record where I can't do that with the Sony, with the Canon.
Well, that's, you have different slightly different needs that way. But the whole thing is basically, just I know you and how you think, and it will alleviate a lot of the
I like that
questions.
I also like that it's workout day. If there are I will take my camera because that's more photojournalistic for me to just get that stuff. So I'm going to see what time that all starts. I'll reach out to whoever I need to.
There's always it's super organized. They will send out an email.
I'm not on that list though.
You can get on it, or Miles can send it to you, and it's one team, and then there's schedules for the press conferences and when the batting practice is, and then a lot of times the home team will go second at night, depending on the travel schedule, so they don't have to get there as early. And it's all scheduled. It's super down to the minute, but it goes on for probably 5 or 6 hours. So it's a long period of time, and there will be a specific time that the credential window is open. It'll be open from this time to that time, and you just go and get it taken care of then, and then you just don't have to deal with it on game day. That'll be a huge deal. And you could also, if there's a parking situation, if you're
I just pay for it. I don't even bother. Okay. I don't care what they charge. It's so much easier not to worry about my name being on a list. I just pay for it.
Well, good. Okay. I just, we don't have as much parking. You guys have big, gigantic parking lots there. So it's a lot easier. We do. So anyway, so that's a main thing. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is for possible clinch, your series, there's a good chance that you could have a clinch game. We don't know. As
early as tomorrow.
Clinch on game 3. There could be a clinch on game 4. And so you could have a clinch on either one of your games. And to see if you get clubhouse access. To get clubhouse access, you need a clubhouse badge. Your credential does not get you into the clubhouse. They issue these badges before a possible clinch game, and you have to seek them out. You have to go find the PR person during batting practice that's handing out the badges, and they usually hand out one per organization. And so that's something that I'm telling you now, you don't want to be the guy that waits to the end of the game and finds out that you don't have a badge. So your credential alone does not get you in the clubhouse. You will need a clubhouse badge, and you when you see Miles before the game, he will already have a clubhouse badge because he's a team photographer. So you will need a clubhouse badge that you attach to your credential that tells the security guards at the door that you indeed are allowed in the clubhouse after a clinch. And the big thing that makes your life way easier for a clubhouse clinch is to, before a game, a clinch game, is to have one camera. I know you have plenty of cameras. Get one camera with whatever wide zoom or whatever type of wide angle that you want to take into the clubhouse, and get it prepped, cover it with whatever think tank or Aquatech, whatever rain gear you want, and get it covered and just have it with you. And that's your clubhouse champagne camera.
Yep.
And so when the game ends, you're ready to go.
Now, do you have field access too?
Yeah, what happens, it's confusing. Each park is different depending on what happens and where the clubhouse is. And usually you have time to run out and do, you shoot the jube first with the long lens, and then you can run out and shoot the wide angle. See, now it's all kind of bullshit. They got the guys with the paper, with the cardboard boxes, with the hats and the t-shirts, and it slows everything down. So they make everyone wear the hats and the t-shirts, and then they go out and they do the team picture on the mound, and so it's delayed the clubhouse thing. So you have time. They used to not do that. You had to rush to the clubhouse and get in fast. So you have time to do everything, but you want to have that camera already sealed. You don't want to be the guy like trying to scramble and cover your one of your wides with a garbage bag or something.
I've got the Aquatex, the plastic ones already.
So just save yourself. Trust me, I've done this a zillion times. Have one camera and lens dedicated for the champagne, and just have it ready to go. And then you don't deal with that camera for 9 innings. It's just ready to go. And if there is no clinch, then you bring it back for game 4. Yep. And you just have that, and it will save you so much. And also, when you go into a clubhouse, grab a towel. There are always Gatorade towels. There are always towels everywhere. Grab a towel from a bat boy, a clubhouse boy, because your eyes will burn. You will get champagne. You will get crap on your lens.
My hair is going to get messed up.
And you need something dry to wipe off the front of your lens. No matter what kind of rain gear you have, the front element of your lens, or the front of your filter, whatever you have on there, will get sprayed with champagne, and you need something dry to wipe off the front of your lens. If you don't, the rest of your pictures will be worthless.
Right.
And that's something, it might sound simple, but if you're in the middle of it and you're reaching, you have nothing dry to clean the front of your lens because you are soaked. So get a dry towel, get something you can keep dry that you can wipe the front of your lens, and always have that, because you will need to wipe the front of your lens often, because in order to get good pictures, you need to get wet.
That's fine. I'm cool with that. And I think I'm leaning towards using the Sony for this, because there's the 12 to 24. I actually have 2 of those here. One of them has to go back to Sony, so the one that will end up going back to Sony will be the one that will hopefully get champagned on. And so that's what I'm doing. There's no filter option for that, so that might be an issue, but I'm not going to worry about it.
Not your problem.
Yeah. I still worry about it because I don't want to damage anybody's stuff, but I think I want to use that. Plus,
Sony has lots of cash.
Well, problem. I also want to be able to record the EVF, so I have to put that on top of the camera as well. But I may need to rig that up a certain way with another plastic bag thing, because they don't have any of the ones with the flash available. So whatever, it's fine.
Oh, okay. Sure.
It's not. I'm not worried about it. If it happens, it happens. I'll be prepared, and that's why I asked you to come on here, because you already gave invaluable information for me, just the basic stuff of just the workout day, is enough, to show up during workout day is going to be something that I'll absolutely do, just so I can get my pass, because that just makes life so much easier the first day. I'll still take my camera for some photojournalistic stuff, and I will seek out Miles to see what we're capable of doing, and I'll see what time it starts, because there's the game today is at 4:37. We're recording this on Wednesday, which is game 2, and then they have to fly from Atlanta back to Philly tonight and prepare for the game, which will be Friday.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, Miles will hook you up, and you'll be all set, and you won't have to deal with a long line of people trying to deal with credentials on game day. You'll be able to cruise right in. You'll be there super early, and you will be completely ready to go. And the games, as you know, these games
take forever.
But they mean so much. Everything matters. It's not a Tuesday night in June.
Yep.
Against whoever. It's the emotion. There's so much emotion. There's big plays. There's big swings of the bat. Things become home run derby, as we saw in the Astros game last night. You will have a blast. It's a completely different deal.
Yeah, I don't know where I'll be, though. I don't know if I'll be upstairs. We'll find out. And
you'll find out. You will find it. There's a lot of room on the field. Those outside spots are big.
Yeah, but
those outside spots are big. And here's the good news: Atlanta only has one newspaper, so they're not going to be traveling many people.
Is it the Constitution Journal? What's it called?
The Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And they're going to send maybe one photographer, and so. It's not like the Yankees are there with a million newspapers. It's not like the old days. So there's going to be room. There's going to be room. It's not like it used to be.
Well, here's to hoping.
Yeah. I think you'll be fine.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to give me this insight, and hopefully it sheds some light on what the mentality is going into it for everybody listening at home as well.
All right, man. Good luck and have fun.
All right. Thanks, Brad. So, Stephen, I actually found that to be some super valuable information. He said the thing about going today, which I wish it was going today. I honestly didn't get the information from the Phillies until after they had media pickup. So
they're allowing people to pick up their credentials today, but there's no practicing going on, correct?
Right. What happened is the players must have come in today. They didn't fly home last night. So it kind of screwed everything up for what it would have been. So now I have to worry about going tomorrow, even though I put an email through today to see, can I still go pick it up? I haven't gotten an email back because I didn't get the message from my buddy, Miles, who's the Phillies photographer that we talked about. He didn't, because he's been traveling for a while. So he can't be on top of everything. Yeah. So when he told me that he would send me the timing, and he did send it to me at about 1:20 p.m. when the thing started at noon. And unfortunately, I don't know. I guess I can't go pick up my credentials today. So hopefully,
I don't run into
issues
film
tomorrow.
RAWtalk too. That was the other thing.
I always get worried that there's issues. The whole point was pick it up today so that if it isn't there today, they can make all the calls and everything would be fine. I'm debating whether I can drive down there now or not, if that matters. But Miles was like, you'll be fine, just pick it up tomorrow. So I just hate running into issues the day of.
Don't we all?
It is what it is. So I don't know what I'm going to take yet. I was hoping today to find out where my position would be, so I know, do I need to bring a 400 and a 600? Do I take two R3s or do I take an A1?
So the difference here, just so I fully understand this, you don't have full reign of the entire stadium like you typically have at Phillies games, correct? They're basically giving you one spot, and you got to sit there, and every photo you take is from that designated spot.
Yeah, and the reasoning behind that is if the APs or the Getty sends multiple photographers, they can cover multiple angles. They'll put one at third base, one at first base, one over here. And so there is room in these photo wells. It's just a matter of where are they going to put me? Is it going to be first base? Is it going to be third base? Is it going to be upstairs? In the concourse area, which I don't care where I'm at. I'm not going to be upset with anything because I'm not everybody knows I'm not there for publication. I'm there for the YouTube stuff.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. It's not as timely as what these other guys need. So they get first dibs, which is totally fine. So I'll be happy with wherever I end up being because it's going to be cool to see a playoff game from wherever I'm at. But I will probably pack a 600 and a 400, and I will take them with me. And if I use it, I use it. If I don't, I don't. But I'm just going to need to be prepared. And tomorrow, now that we know that the Phillies didn't win Game 2, is not a clinching game. So there will be no post-game champagne celebration. That will happen Saturday with either the Phillies or the Braves will be up 2-1.
I do think his discussion about the locker room, though, was very interesting from someone that doesn't shoot baseball like myself, going in there prepared with something like a hydro, what do they call it? What's it?
It's a raincoat. It's a raincoat, basically.
Yeah, but what's the brand name? Think Tank Hydro...
I don't remember what they call it, but I also have the cheap ones that are $7 that are like plastic but are perfect for this.
I mean, I was hoping you roll in there with a new umbrella, man.
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
No, I couldn't imagine, Stephen. That would be nuts.
But
I am prepared. I really think I'm going to use, if when it comes to the celebration Saturday for whoever it is, if I have access, I will end up using probably the Sony A1 because of the 12 to 24 2.8 is the most versatile lens I can think of in a tight space. Whereas I don't want to use the Canon 11 to 24 because it's an f4 and it's an adapted lens. So I would prefer using the 12 to 24.
You're going to use the new Canon R6 Mark II, right?
Yeah, Steven.
I wasn't supposed to say that, was I? It's got
the
new stack
sensor.
Anybody. Oh, crap. No, we do not know anything about this camera.
No, we know nothing about that camera. Yeah. I'm excited to shoot the game. I may make a vlog about it. I may vlog my setup. I may vlog pregame.
With the ZV-1F?
No, I'm not. I thought about it, but I'm like, I don't know. That was part of what I should ask you. Should I take an R5? Should I take an R6? What should I use? Should I take one of my R3s and vlog with that?
I mean, the question is, how much gear do you want to bring? If you're taking a full frame camera, you're going to have to bring a nice big Joby grip and all of that, where you could take something like the M50 Mark II, or even the
No,
ZV-1
the M50
we
Mark
still
II is
have.
shit right now.
We have the ZV-E10 too. Actually, no, we don't have that.
No, we don't.
We have the ZV-1.
We don't. There's no Sony that I would want to use.
Yeah, if it was me personally, I'd probably go 15 to 35 with the R5.
Oh, 15 to 35. So why don't I just do 15 to 35 with an R3, because I have two R3s?
Just more weight. You can do an R3, you can do an R6. Doesn't really matter. It's all.
Well, the thing is, I don't plan on vlogging during the game per se, because I'm going to be shooting the game and I don't want to be distracted. But I have the 360 camera. I'll take that just in case to get some extra footage from there.
And the 15 to 35 will be a decent range too. You know, you can still have some zoom and.
Yeah, I could still use that for some
ultra wide.
I could put the 14 to 30 on there. It's lighter, f4 for vlogging.
14 to 30 with Nikon?
No, Canon has a 14 to 30 f4, right? It's a 14 to 30, isn't it?
Is it?
Is it a 16 to 35? What is it?
Well, they have
Canon,
a
14 to 30? Oh, it's a 14 to 35, Steven.
That's it, 35. The only difference is an f4.
Yeah, so what? It's a vlog. We don't give a shit.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I know, that one's lighter, so maybe I do that and put that on an R3.
Is that one? Yeah, it has IS too. They both have IS, so why not?
Ugh, I'm going to have to figure this out.
Actually, yeah, that is probably the best option.
Yep, I have to go find that and make sure I got it.
You sure you want to do an R3? I feel like it's such a big, bulky camera. It is light.
But I'm taking it with me anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I'm going to have two of them with me, so why take a third camera when I could just vlog with it? Though you're going to need to send me some email for how to actually, what I should set it to. 4K, 24, and...
Yeah, that's fine.
Do I put the...
I thought we already set one of your R3s up where it's... we have video settings locked in.
I don't know. Yeah, we did. It's either... I think it's the red one. The one with red tape on it, not blue tape on it.
Is the red one your backup and the blue is your one that you normally use?
Now it doesn't matter because they're set the same way, but I did for bowling set it to do video. I remember that, but I can't remember if it was the red or the blue one. Audio wise, should I just go take one of the Rode microphones and pop that on top?
Yeah, I'd go Rode shotgun all day.
And
unless you want to be mic'd up
levels?
yourself, but that's up to you.
No, I don't want to be wearing a mic pack throughout the game. Yeah. Then I just set it to auto levels, right?
Yeah, just put the attenuator on and call it a day.
So much to do to think about. It's not just taking pictures of a game. It's for us.
It is a lot for you to do. I mean, especially if you're vlogging and taking pictures at the same time. It's a lot to focus on.
The vlogging part really consists of
pre-game and stuff.
My bags before I go.
Okay.
Some talking in the car, walking into the stadium, going to the press room, meeting other press people.
When you're walking into the stadium, I need like 17 shots, like Casey Neistat style. It's going to take you an hour just to get that 1 10-second shot.
Not doing it. Gonna walk into the stadium.
Nope.
Gonna walk our way to the press room. Gonna go in there, see if anybody's really upset that I'm doing this. And
actually, are you allowed to?
I don't know. I just
I didn't even think about that.
Again.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be fine until someone says no.
I mean, what's the difference between having all access with your photo pass? The same thing with video, right?
The press room is a different kind of
game. A sanctuary. It's
people hanging out, right, doing their work and not wanting to be bothered usually. And I'm not looking to bother people, but I usually just show where we go. And even if I just did B-roll of that, we could voice over it or just use it as voiceover.
I could just picture like everyone doing their work, everything's serious, and you just hear typing, and then you hear Jared Polin, Frono's photo.
Well, that did happen once, Steven.
Did it really?
Yes. You were there.
Where?
Flyers game. Canon 70 Mark II upstairs in the press box.
Oh, yeah.
After the game. They were trying to type.
And remember, we also kind of got in trouble. I got in trouble, I guess.
We didn't get in trouble. You did.
Yeah, because the light was reflecting and actually
turned on a light
and actually affecting players.
The goalie, because they saw a big bright spot in the fucking stands.
And I had it super dim and pointed down. I was surprised I could even see it.
That's because it's dark in the stands, and that bright light is something that they would see.
Yeah, I had no idea.
But it's all right. Nothing happened there.
Yeah, it was fine.
So I guess I will update you guys on what happens on the next episode, and you can follow my Instagrams to see what is actually happening. And
I'm excited for a vlog. It's been a minute since we've done any of that like real behind the scenes content.
Don't get too excited. I still need to do it. Still need to do it.
We're gonna have you like just talking in the car, and that's it.
Yeah. Anyway, Steven, people can text us at 313-710-9729. Let's hear your favorite hashtags. Be sure to put them under the videos, wherever you want to put them when we put them live, and make sure you put down what episode it's from so other people... The whole point I'm asking you to do that it's from RAWtalk episode, is so that other people start to know where it is, where it came from and why, so they can get in on the fun.
On the good stuff.
Like hashtag Jared's a short, angry elf. I think that's what Steven said earlier.
It's pretty accurate.
Something. Shut up, Steven.
On that note,
I'm going to get out of here. This is episode number 20. Steven, anything else you want to add?
Nope. Buy my 5D Mark IV.
Thank you guys very much for listening. Jared Polin, FronosPhoto.com. See ya.
Bye.